They'll be attending the 6th annual Halo Art Reach auction, which uses local artists' work and the Halo Foundation to raise money for charity. If this proposition is passed, it would make the very land I'm standing on right now more expensive. Currently, it's only 50 cents, but under the proposition, it would be somewhere between $1 and $2 depending on the type of construction. The main issue so far is that wind. What it's doing is blowing that snow across the road, and it's really obscuring what you're being able to see. It's hard to tell if it's just wet roads or if there's some ice. The rain may be gone, but you may not be able to tell it by looking at the roads. If you look at the road behind me, it's actually completely covered by water. In a local election, Citizens for a Better Columbia spent $78,000 to shoot down Proposition 2. That's equivalent of spending $5 per no vote. The other side only spent $5,000, and that's equivalent of spending less than 2/4 per vote, while also working with the units that are nearest to the emergency, all the while making sure they make the right type of response. All of this in just a matter of seconds. According to the Federal Reserve, 11% of the male workforce is missing. These able-bodied men, aged 25 to 54, are either unemployed or not looking for work. So I simply wanted to know why. I decided to start my search like any man trying to find work, looking through the classifieds. After a couple of hours, Tiger Towing agreed to talk to me. They lamented filling open positions isn't always easy.
It takes probably about a month or so to find a decent driver, you know.
I wanted to know how hard of a gig driving was, so I took a ride. There was plenty of lifting, pulling, and driving. Hard work for $10 an hour plus commission. Well, according to some reports, potential employees think work like this is just too hard, and they think they can have the same type of lifestyle drawing unemployment benefits. Debates, though, disagrees.
I really don't understand it. I mean, I think you'd want to be more active. I think you'd want to be more productive with your life. I mean, you want to lead an example for your kids if you've got kids, you know.
So I tried the job for myself. Lifting. This is heavy. Pulling and driving. And, well, I don't know if I'm cut out for this. Man, I was working for like 5 seconds. My hands are dirty. Got a hangnail. Life's tough. The job may be hard, but it's still a job, and Debates has a team of drivers who are up to the task. He says I'm not good enough to join them yet. So in the meantime, I'll work on my driving. Missouri may have the most lax ethics laws in the country. Missouri is the only state where lobbyists can make unlimited campaign contributions and give gifts to lawmakers. Now, the defense has always been that the money is reported and clearly visible, but we found that's just not the case. $1.8 million. That's how much money lobbyists gave in the way of food, tickets, airfare, and other gifts through the last legislative term. Gifts accepted by individual lawmakers go on the record, but gifts going to groups like committees do not. And group contributions are on the rise. A recent St. Louis Public Radio report found 3/4 of gifts given by lobbyists were to groups, up 15% from last year. This means a lobbyist can take out an entire committee, but the dinner will never show up on the lawmaker's individual records.
Yeah, I think there's probably been isolated cases,
right,
where there's been a couple of abuses.
Which is a good thing, because Barget and Associates pumped almost $60,000 in gifts last legislative term, including dinners with more than $1,000 tabs for committees like professional registration and licensing, utilities, economic development, and 6 other committees, for a final price tag of more than $25,000, none of which will appear on a lawmaker's record.
I can tell you, I've never been at a dinner that I've hosted or been there with some other people where somebody said, okay, we've ordered our dinner. John, tell us what it is you'd like for us to do tomorrow.
So what's their purpose?
What most of them buy, if you will, at most, is access. It's the ability to come by and talk to a member of Congress, state legislator, staff member about a piece of legislation.
These dinners usually center around establishing connections with lawmakers. The biggest spenders are a virtual who's who of the state. Ameren spent the most money of any group last term, including a $16,000 meet and greet with Westinghouse CEO for the entire General Assembly. Westinghouse and Ameren partnered together for the Callaway nuclear power plant. And John Barget and Associates, grouped with other lobbying organizations, spent more than $346,000 on gifts for lawmakers. But lobbyists like Barget say just because the perception is bad doesn't mean reality is.
Things that I work with in Jefferson City, both people that I work with and people that I work against, are quite honestly some of the most honorable, decent people that I've ever had the privilege of meeting.
Barget says gifts aren't the best motivators.
I mean, the power of a local constituent is much greater than any of the perceived power that people believe lobbyists have.
But what about the lawmakers? Even with the less reporting, some lawmakers still rack up the gifts. Senator Kiki Curls took the most last term, including 19 separate ticket gifts from lobbyists, adding up to almost $3,400 of free tickets to things from baseball games to a Miami Heat basketball game in Kansas City and more. Senator Ryan Silvey took the second most, all the while being the vice chairman of the Governmental Oversight and Fiscal Responsibility Committee. And Senator Tom Dempsey, the vice chair of the very committee an ethics reform bill would have to be heard, received almost $45,000 since being elected in 2007. But just because they accept gifts, is that a problem?
If all this information comes to light and the citizens of that district do not believe that there's anything wrong with it, and there's no laws that have been violated, and they keep re-electing Representative Snort, with all due respect, the last time I checked, we were in America, and that means the majority rules.
And Barget is right. All these gifts are legal. And year after year, ethics bills about gifts and contributions have been filed only to die in the Missouri legislature. Some fail because they go too far, while others because they don't go far enough. Another round of ethics bills will be filed this year, and it might get some unexpected support.
The more transparency, the better for everybody.
What steps the officer who shot Michael Brown is taking in his career to protect his fellow police officers.
Atomic bomb research in one country has other countries looking for answers.
And huge snowfall leaves people stranded, but an even bigger threat could be on the way.
Good morning. It is Friday, November 21st. TGIF. I'm Angie Bailey.
And I'm Michael Downa.
I'm Eric Aldrich, and should be a nice start to your day here on Friday.
Too bad.
Yeah, a little bit of sunshine this morning, and very chilly, but we're going to warm on up into the...
Ferguson police officer Darren Wilson and a St. Louis County grand jury may both make heavily weighted decisions today. Wilson is in the final stages of negotiations with city officials to resign. Sources close to the talks say Wilson's potential resignation will depend on whether a grand jury returns an indictment against him in the shooting death of Michael Brown. The grand jury could decide that as early as today and likely before Thanksgiving. Wilson says he's willing to resign as a way to ease pressure and to protect other officers. Wilson maintains he did nothing wrong. The holidays are almost here, which means lots of family and food are soon to come.
Sure are. One thing that might not be on your radar this year is being healthy. KOMU-8 Steve Dooley-Banco is at a local gym this morning to tell us some tips on how to try to stay healthy during the holidays.
An accused murderer is expected to appear in court today. Stephen Neal Henderson is accused of killing 13-year-old Michaela Shelton. Investigators found her body in a heavily wooded area in June of 2013. The trial was originally scheduled for Miller County, but a judge did grant a change of venue to Laclede County. Henderson is being held on a $500,000 bond in the Miller County Jail. 5 people are waking up this morning in Pettis County Jail after a pair of drug busts in Sedalia. For the first bust, police entered a home with a no-knock search warrant with canines assisting. And the second, officers saw the suspects leave the home and get in a car. The officers then stopped the car and arrested the suspects. This is KOMU-8 News, a live look over Columbia at 4:35 a.m.
Pretty rainy weekend, but rain is better than snow. Just ask the folks in New York.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right.
I would take rain anytime
Well,
over snow.
thank you so much, Eric.
Okay.
President Barack Obama is now officially offering legal status to some 5 million immigrants who are currently in the country illegally. The president made the executive order just last night.
He announced several changes to the immigration system, with a major one based on children and keeping families together. The changes were made by bypassing Congress, infuriating Republicans and some Democrats. KOMU-8 spoke with college Democrats and college Republicans at MU to hear their reaction to the plan.
Low-income families will continue to get government money to pay for child care services. Congress reauthorized and updated the Child Care and Development Block Grant Act. It gives subsidies to parents to pay for daycare services. Daycares then use the money to pay for daily operations, foods, and classroom supplies. The grant will allow parents to continue to get funding even if their income changes. The grant costs approximately $5.3 billion. Most people leave early on Black Friday to beat the crowd.
But this year could be a little different. We'll tell you what your shopping options could be.
A Connecticut agency will issue a report today on Sandy Hook Elementary School shooters' mental health and education history. An earlier police investigation concluded a motive may never be found. It said Lanza had mental health issues but was not aggressive or threatening. Last year, a judge ordered Newtown school officials to give Lanza's records to the Office of Child Advocacy for its investigation. The governor's Sandy Hook Advisory Commission has been waiting on the report before releasing recommendations on how to prevent further shootings. The agency says it shared its findings with the victims' families and school officials.
It used to be the best time for shopping is Black Friday.
NBC's Mark Barger tells us how the day after Thanksgiving might never be the same. The National Retail Federation says consumers spent around $57 billion from Black Friday to Cyber Monday last year. That means the average consumer spent more than $400 during that 4-day period. A device in your home could be watching your every move. A Russian website was discovered that streams live footage from thousands of private webcams, even baby monitors around the globe. Nearly 46,000 of those cams are from the U.S. The website was able to access the webcams since they were still set to their default passwords. So any device connected to the internet could be at risk, and the longer that you wait to change your password, the greater the risk. The site showed both public and private locations.
An unlikely friendship, but opposites sometimes do attract.
NBC's Dana Theed tells us the story about two cats who are also friends with a quack.